Hi and welcome to a new section in which we will see the assistance that we get from GitHub Copilot while developing Java. And as an important note to this section, I will be using Copilot inside VS Code. Copilot works great also inside IntelliJ, but I think that Copilot is much better integrated inside VS Code. This is the reason I will be using VS Code inside this section. If you don't have experience with it, I ask you to at least give VS Code a try. You will see it is great for Java development. Now back to our subject. As requirements for this section, you already need to have installed a Java virtual machine. Anyone will do just fine. You also need to have installed Maven, and of course you need at least some basic Java knowledge. Also inside this section we will see the assistance that we get from GitHub Copilot while developing a cool application, a password checker. We will see how we can generate logic, how we can generate unit tests, and also later we will get a practice session with lists and arrays, and we will see the assistance from GitHub Copilot. Before ending this intro, I want to show you my VS Code setup for Java development. So to make sure that we are on the same page, let me switch to my IDE. This is my IDE. I have Java and Maven installed, and also for Java development there's a great extension for VS Code. It's called Extension Pack for Java. Just install VS Code, Java and this extension, and you will be more than ready to do Java development inside VS Code. This being said, let's get to work in the next lecture. In this lecture, we will see the assistance that we get from GitHub Copilot when we will want to create a Maven project. I will use VS Code for this, but maybe you will use this for other IDEs. That's why I will want to focus more on terminal commands and less on the assistance from the IDE. For this, let's start to create a Maven project, and again it's been a while for me since I've worked with Java. I don't really remember the commands, but I have Java 17 installed and Maven installed. These are the requirements. Let's ask GitHub Copilot how to create a Maven project. I will ask it to do that. So I have asked GitHub Copilot to how can I create a Maven project, and basically it told me how can I do this inside the terminal. I'm inside an empty folder right here, and then I can simply call this command Maven generate, and then it gave me the command. It also told me to replace this group ID, so I will do just that. Alright, and what I can simply do, I already have a terminal opened right here, and I can simply insert this command right here into my terminal. What I will do, I will replace this group ID with my preferred group ID. And I will run this command, and now I have a new folder inside my application, a Maven folder, and I will open VS Code inside this folder. So I will go to File, Open Folder, and I will open this folder right now to have VS Code inside the root of this folder. And as you can see, now we have everything as we want. We even have a test. Let's see if we have what we need inside the POM XML. And inside the POM XML, I see that I'm getting an old version of JUnit 3.8. I want a newer version of JUnit. Again, I don't know exactly the artifact ID and what exactly I need to put right here, but what can I do? I can ask Copilot. I asked it, how can I add JUnit 5 to my POM XML? And it directly gave me like this. I can simply insert this right here, these two dependencies. I can simply delete this JUnit dependency right here, and then I can simply insert this at cursor. And now I simply have this, and I have these dependencies, this Jupyter and the JUnit dependencies. In a VS Code, if I will replace or if I will modify my POM XML, it will install my dependencies. I will wait for a few moments. And now if I will go to my Project Explorer, I have right here a view for Maven, and let me see if I get my dependencies for my Maven project. And yes, I have my two dependencies, and I also have a problem right here. Let me inspect it. What's the problem? Inside the test, yes, the imports are wrong, so I will delete this. I also don't have any test case right here. You know what, I will delete the whole class and I will recreate it in the next lecture when we will set up unit tests for our application. For the moment, we set up a Maven Java project with a little assistance from GitHub Copilot. Before moving on to code generation and code assistance, there are a few boring jobs which I need to fix or to do with the assistance of GitHub Copilot. For example, I'm looking at my source control tab right here and I can see that I have some class files which are also under source control. They should not be here, and for this I need a .gitignore file. I will create my .gitignore file. Simple as that, but since again I haven't worked with Java for some time, I don't know exactly what typically a gitignore file should contain. Luckily we have GitHub Copilot. I will simply ask it, and I have asked it what should a .gitignore file contain for a Java Maven project, and it basically gave me an implementation right here. After I have it, what I can do, I have the gitignore file opened. Again, I can simply insert it into my file. I will save it like this. This is one thing. Now, if again I will go to my source control view, this time we have less files because we have the .gitignore file, and one feature which I really like about GitHub Copilot is that I can simply generate meaningful commit messages. Usually when I'm working and I'm in a not finishing a task, I can simply write as source control message like commit message work in progress or stuff, you know, boring stuff because I want to get things done. But GitHub Copilot can assist me at writing better commit messages, and this is a small but important thing in my opinion. And what I can do, I can stage my change right here, and then I can select or I can click this icon right here, and GitHub Copilot will generate a nice commit message for me. I will commit this, and then I can maybe depending on what I want, I can also you know, maybe stage my configuration files, you know, like this, and then I can simply stage my other files, get a nice commit message for all of them. Of course, they are automatically generated, but they are much better than what I can do in 2 seconds. And the last thing which is generated is really helpful is the way we can use GitHub Copilot to generate documentation for our methods. Since this is the subject of the lecture, I simply here I have a main method, so nothing too big right here. But what I can do is I can select it and I can go to Copilot and I can simply call generate docs. And yes, for this it doesn't have too much because I don't have too much inside this program, but you get the idea on how we can use GitHub Copilot for some boring tasks. Let's say it like this. I will save this file, and again, let's see what message do I get for source control this time. I'm really curious if it will be able. Yes, I only added some documentation and GitHub Copilot knows this about my commit. I will commit and sync this change also. Now we are finally ready to do some serious coding with the assistance of GitHub Copilot. Let's do it in the next lecture. In this lecture, we will finally see the assistance that we get from GitHub Copilot while working with Java, and I mean real coding. So, as mentioned before, we will have a password checker project. I will create a new file. I will call this password checker. Alright, this is our password checker. It is a class and it will have one public method which is called check password. Alright, let's make some room. And you will see, as soon as I will start typing public, And you can see it already gives me some suggestions. I can accept these suggestions, you know, like this, or I can accept the whole block with a simple tab. All right, please like this. All right, it says public static boolean check password, and it will give me a basic implementation of this. One change which I want to make, I don't want this to be a static method. We can simply create a password checker object when we will want this. And let's add some conditions. You know, this is a basic implementation. I want it more complex. So I will add a simple check or a simple list of ifs. I will say right here, if password length is smaller than 8, then we can simply return false, like this. All right, we have an error right here because there are some outcomes in which we won't return anything, but we can at this point keep on adding new conditions. If I will simply add a new entry right here, again I will add a new if. I will have a new condition right here for password length, it should be less than 20 again, and at this point GitHub Copilot should have an idea about how my checks should look like. Again, if I will press another enter, then at this point GitHub Copilot knows how my checks should look like, and I can simply accept them. And from this point on, there's a simple matter of tab and enter. Simple as that. We are checking for lowercase letters, for uppercase letters. We can check for numbers like this. That's great. And let's see if it will give us special characters. Let's see. I don't know. Yes, it will give us special characters. And in the end, if we reach this point, this means that everything is all right. Let's see if it's smart enough to return true. Yes, return true. And of course, it is that powerful into doing this because this is a very common or popular use case, and I'm sure that in its training data it had lots of check or validate password functionalities, and this is the reason this was so easy. It won't be as easy for other outcomes. Now we have a basic implementation of this check password, but we can take things to the next level. Maybe I don't want a boolean check password implementation. What I want is to also throw or return an invalid reason. Because I want to, let's say I'm a user, I'm trying to create a password, and I'm simply returning back the reason, hey, your password is invalid, but I don't know what's wrong with it. So let's say that we want a new implementation for this function, but it will also throw the invalidity reason. How can I do this? Well, I can simply select it and invoke the GitHub Copilot dialog to rewrite this function, but what it will do, it will really rewrite it. It won't create a new version. And what I really want to do when I want multiple implementations of the same functionality is good old copy paste first. And now we have a new function right here, which is a public boolean check password, but I will call this check password and throw reason like this. And now I will select it and invoke the GitHub Copilot dialog, and I will ask it. I told it rewrite the method by throwing the invalid reason. Let's see if it will understand what I want. And it somewhat understood what I want. I guess this took this invalid password exception right here. And as you can see, when I'm asking it to rewrite or make some modifications to my code, I'm getting something resembling a code diff view. You know, on the left I have the old implementation, on the right I have the new implementation. I have the option to accept or discard, you know, this modification. For the moment I will accept it, but I guess this is returning this invalid password exception because this is a missing type. I don't want this inside my code. Good old exception is doing just fine. What I can do, let's say if it knows how to replace this, and I will say replace invalid password exception with exception. And yes, this time it understood what I wanted, so I will accept this. And as you can see, this is a matter of iteration. And most of the times it won't give us exactly what we want from the first try. But if we iterate a little over the problem, GitHub Copilot will in the end give us exactly what we want. And as a last note, I don't want this to be a boolean. I can simply make it a void, because if we are not throwing any errors, then everything will be all right. And before finishing this lecture, let's also add some documentation, because we are professionals. And let's just say right here I can call /doc. We will have a nice documentation as we saw in the previous lecture. Right here also /doc. All right, and we have a very professional looking documentation. Looks like we spent a lot of time writing this. It only took us like 2 seconds. That's great. Let's move on to the next lecture and see how we can write tests for Java code with the assistance of GitHub Copilot. Let's now see the assistance that we get from GitHub Copilot when we want to write and implement unit tests for our project. And I already have a generated file by Maven for this. I will delete it, I don't need it. And I will open my password checker Java file. And in order to generate tests, usually it should be simple, but let's check and see. So I will select my method which I want to test, and I will go to Copilot and I will select generate tests. And usually this is a more complex step because we need a whole class dedicated to this. Let's see if GitHub Copilot will be able to do this. And yes, it will be able to do this. It will propose to have a new file inside our project called passwordcheckertest.java. I will click create. All right, and I will accept this. And let's see if it is in the right place. No, it's not. So I will move it myself into the test folder. All right. Okay. Let's inspect this. Let's inspect this, and let's see if things are okay or not. And basically things are looking okay, except they are not. For example, we have a new password checker for each and every test. And I guess the tests are pretty good. You know, even the testing methods are pretty good. All right. Basically, things are looking all right in the first try. Let's see, first of all, if the tests are running just fine. Again, I don't remember exactly how to do this with Maven. I don't want to run them with VS Code. I can simply do this, but maybe you are not using VS Code, or so even better, let's run them directly with Maven. Let me clear the dialog and I asked it, how do I run Java unit tests with Maven from the command line? Let's see the command. All right, we can simply call mvm test. Let's see, mvn test. And we have some problem inside our implementation. This is more like a compilation problem, so not something wrong with our tests. This is also indicated by VS Code right here. So we need somehow inside our pom.xml to specify an environment. I could right here try to copy this message and ask GitHub Copilot. I don't know exactly if it will give me the right indication. All right, it will give me a indication from Eclipse. So this is not all right. In the end, I don't know. I know what exactly it's the problem. You know from experience, not from GitHub Copilot. So you can see GitHub Copilot is not the answer to everything. Sometimes it simply can't replace trial and error and experience. My problems comes from the pom.xml file. Here I need to specify a different or a new target right here, and I want to specify a target of 17. Again, I have opened this pom.xml file. I don't know, I want to specify the target 17, but I don't know the proper syntax, and I can add right here in the GitHub Copilot using as reference pom.xml. I asked it, how do I specify a compiler target? All right, it told me that I should specify a compiler plugin. Again, this is not all right. Sorry, GitHub Copilot, you are wrong this time. What I need to do is to simply add a property right here. So I will add some properties like this. And as properties, we need a Maven compiler source. All right, this looks okay. And also we need a Maven compiler target. Basically, this is it. I will make this to 17. I will save this. I will synchronize everything. And let's see if things are working now or not. Alright, and this time it worked. You know, we have a build success and all the tests are okay. They are all passing. This means that our tests are working just fine, at least in the first iteration of them. As I said, for example, I don't like that we have a lot of code duplication right here. I want to move this into a at before method. Let's see if Copilot is smart enough to do this. So here I will call GitHub Copilot and I will ask it. All right, and it somewhat understood what I wanted. I will accept this change and then I will have to fix it because there will be some problems right here. So we are not having a new class right here. This is not the case. We are having some wrong imports right here. And a little formatting wouldn't be bad. But at this point, I was able to format this. Let me quickly run all the tests with VS Code and see if everything is alright. And yes, everything is alright. So we were able to quickly write tests for our password checker, and we did all of this with GitHub Copilot. Let's move on into the next lecture and see how we can generate tests for the other method. Let's now extend our tests inside our project, and let's also create tests for our other method, the method that is throwing exceptions. So the tests will be a very little more complicated because we will have to handle exceptions. Let's see if GitHub Copilot can assist us with them. Again, I will simply select it. I can press the light bump right here, or I can simply call Copilot and call generate tests for this specific method, and let's see if it will understand the preferred structure of tests that we want. Let's see what we get right here inside our other class. So this is what we are receiving right here. It doesn't know that we are in the new file, so it will tell us to use again package and the imports. That's no problem. We are smart enough to remove them afterwards. What I really care about is the testing methods, and the testing methods are looking alright, especially those with the check password and throw reason. So this one are looking good. I will accept this. So I will click apply. And now everything is messed up in my class. No problem, let's fix it. So I will delete everything, or even said what I need is I need my new testing methods, the one with check password and throw reason. So again, as you can see, GitHub Copilot has a hard time understanding file structures, but even with this, it gave us what we wanted. So I will remove the new implementations right here. This one, delete it, alright, and paste this right here. And this should be alright. Let's see if everything looks okay. Everything looks okay. Let's see if they are alright. I will again run them fast with VS Code, and yes, all of them are running. What I want is, for example, lower down the line, it didn't tell me, it didn't check the reason. So right here I will instruct GitHub Copilot also check the error message. Let's see if it understands what I mean, and it should. Yes, it understands what I mean because it also checks for the message, but I don't want a new method, test method. I will simply discard this and maybe be a little clearer. Maybe inside this method. Alright, this time it looks okay. It knows that in the same method I also want to check for the error message. This one is great. Alright, and the same for the other ones. Basically, you can see how we can write tests with GitHub Copilot. what is still missing from our test suite is a test with a valid password. So wasn't supplied by the generate tests command, but let's see if GitHub Copilot is smart enough to write it itself after we are getting a few hints. So it tells us, hey, you want a new test? Yes, I want a new test. I will click on enter, and it knows right now, hey, I want a test for a valid password. So this is my valid password and this is my test. So GitHub Copilot finished our tests. Well, as a conclusion to these last two lectures, as you can see, GitHub Copilot gives us great assistance at writing tests, but in the end we should supervise and implement those ourselves, and we should know exactly what we are doing. If we don't know what we are doing, we should first get the experience and then the assistance from GitHub Copilot. In this lecture, we will see how we can work with lists in Java with the assistance of GitHub Copilot. For this, we will need first of all, a simple good old Java class, a Pojo, and for this I will create an employee Java class. Right here, VS Code is kind enough to already generate the class for me. Thank you very much. I will add a name, a age, and a salary. So right here I'll say private string name. Thank you, this is what I wanted. I want a private age, thank you very much, and a private in salary. This is what I wanted. That's great. Let's now generate a constructor. Again, GitHub Copilot already knew that I wanted this. Again, I will click accept, thank you very much, and also some getters and setters. And I think I can get these with the assistance of the IDE. I will use VS Code for this. I will generate getters and setters. You can do with whatever you like, or you can manually write them if anybody ever does this. So we have our simple class right here. All right, let's now create a employee list class. So I will create a new file. I will call this employee list Java. It will be a class. And again, what it will have a list of employees. So here I'll say private list of employees. All right, and it already knew what I wanted. This is what I wanted, is a new array list of employee. That's great. Like this, we have our employees. Now let's create this class, or let's initialize these employees inside the constructor. So I will first of all create the constructor. I will say right here public employee list. Like this. This is our constructor, and let's see if GitHub Copilot knows that we want to initialize our list inside the constructor, and yes, it knew exactly that. So this is one great thing about GitHub Copilot, that it will help us with sample data. That's great, it will do this for us. We don't have to do this anymore manually ever. That's great. This is our list. So we now have a populated list. Let's see if now we can start to work with different list methods inside Java. And let's say that we want, first of all the list names. Here I'll say public string array get employees names. Let's see if we can implement this. All right, and I think this looks okay. It will give us directly an implementation and this will return the array for our employees. I wonder if we can do the same by using streams. So I will copy and paste this implementation. All right, I will remove the implementation and I will call this with streams, and let's see if Copilot knows what we want. All right, and to be honest, I don't know if this will work. I will write the tests outside this class. This is not the point, but as you can see, GitHub Copilot knew that we wanted an implementation of this with using streams, and this is a great way to learn streams, you know. So let's see if we can get another information about our employees. And here I'll say public, and I will call this list of employee. All right, maybe we want to get the employees sorted by age. So here I will say get employees sorted by age, and I guess this is what we wanted. That's great. This is what we wanted. We wanted the employees, and you know, is sorted by age. That's great. So this is what I wanted. Let's see if we, for example, can filter our implementation, and maybe let's get a list of employees. So here I'll say again, public list of employees, get employees. I will call this with salary greater than, and here I will say int salary, and this is looking good. It's creating a new list first of all, and then it is iterating through the employees, and it's doing just that. It returns us with employees with salary greater than. But let's see if we can have a more implementation of this function with streams. So again, I will copy this implementation again like this, and let me remove the implementation. I don't want this implementation with greater than with streams. Let's see if GitHub Copilot knows what I want. Maybe trigger it, and I guess it knows. So this is the way we can do this with the filter, with the stream, with the filter, with the, and then finally with the collect. All right, for this we need to import the collectors class. Also format this a little. And now things are looking very nice. And let's see if it will assist us to also return this list sorted by the salary. So here I'll say dot, I want to sort this by the salary, sorted, and here I want to sort this by the salary. Or maybe let's just let GitHub Copilot to do this. I will say right here, add sorting by salary. Let's see if it knows. And it knows we have a problem. Yes, we also need to import this comparator. And yes, now our list is sorted by the salary, and we are using this very stream-like syntax, and this is great. Again, we saw in this lecture a few ways in which we can use GitHub Copilot with assistance at writing or at working with Java lists. Again, an exercise for you would be to implement your own methods using GitHub Copilot for your own preferred data structures, and why not write some tests for them.